The frustration has built up over time. I've been involved in some of these negotiations, and the Canadians have been very difficult to negotiate with.
You can't throw tariffs around indiscriminately and then not negotiate because you're mad about a pushback from one of the countries that you're having a trade war with.
We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We recognize that that policy has fundamentally changed.
Okay, let's bring in our panel to talk about it. Fox News contributors Hugh Hewitt and Byron York. Plus, Fox News senior political analyst Juan Williams. Great to see all of you. So this channels back to an ad that is being run by Canadian officials that uses language and uses sound bites from President Reagan about tariffs. So this is the Truth Social post that most of us woke up to today. There's a lot of all caps here. I'll just get to it. President Trump says tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the U.S. based on their egregious behavior, meaning this ad that's running. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Hugh, where do we go from here?
We go to an abject apology from Canada if they want to get the trade talks going again. Doug Ford punched above his weight and got slapped down by the President of the United States, who never doesn't hit back. So if you put up a distorted take from Ronald Reagan, and the Reagan Foundation and Institute have objected to what they believe was an aberration, that they edited badly, you should expect Donald Trump to punch back. And Mark Carney is trying desperately to calm it down, trying to stay low key, but I wouldn't expect them to start soon. 40 million Canadians are our friends. Don't punch Donald Trump in the nose.
So, and the Reagan Foundation may actually pursue legal action. That seems to be part of the discussion on the table here. But the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, who you referenced, said this: our intention was always to initiate a conversation about the kind of economy that Americans want to build and the impact of tariffs on workers or businesses. We've achieved our goal, having reached U.S. audiences at the highest level. He says, in speaking with Prime Minister Carney, Ontario will pause its U.S. advertising campaign effective Monday so that trade talks can resume. But Byron, it sounds like those ads are still going to run during the World Series this weekend.
They will. Even if this ad had been accurate, it would have been offensive, I think, to run this ad in the United States trying to lobby for this political situation. But President Trump is right about this ad. If you look at the Ronald Reagan speech that was made April of 1987, he did it on the occasion of imposing tariffs on Japan over Japan's unfair trade practices. It sounded very Trumpy. Look, stipulated Reagan was pro-free trade. He was against tariffs in general. He said that in this. But this particular speech that formed the basis of the commercial was the rationale for imposing tariffs.
All right, Juan, you're smiling down there. I feel like you're enjoying this.
Well, I am, because, one, I covered Reagan, so I was at the White House for a lot of these Saturday radio addresses, as you can imagine. That wasn't the prime responsibility for a White House correspondent. But to me, the reality is that you have a very thin-skinned Donald Trump reacting to an ad and stopping negotiations with our, I think, number 2 trading partner. Mexico's number 1, Canada's number 2. So you have a lot of Americans in business with Canada who are going to say, Mr. President, you know what, be a big guy about this and, dust this off your shoulder. You think about already what's going on with the farmers who are not having people not buy their soybeans. You think about, what's going on with the auto industry. So much of it is based in Canada and Mexico. They're already having some trouble. You think about the ranchers who are upset about Argentinian beef getting subsidized as a result of our bailing out Argentina. So I think there's a lot of pressure on President Trump to say, I'm going to just be bigger than this, and I'm going to re-engage with these negotiations.
Well, like Hugh says, you can't expect him not to counterpunch or to return the punch. We know that's how President Trump operates, and that's how many of his negotiations go, and you get people to the table. All right, Juan, I want to stay with you because you mentioned the soybeans. So President Trump is embarking on this Asia trip now. He says one of the things that if the sit-down happens with President Xi, they're going to talk about fentanyl, about rare earths. They're going to talk about soybeans. Politico says this: President Trump departs Friday on the riskiest foreign trip of his second term. Trump could return celebrating deals that will strengthen U.S. ties in the region, or if talks with Xi collapse, confronting an escalating trade war likely to rattle markets, ripple through supply chains, and expose how dependent the U.S. remains on China for critical minerals. Juan, what are you watching for in this trip?
Well, look, it's a very important trip, but I think if you think about America's future here, the future is all about Asia, and China is at the center of Asia in terms of all our policy. I can talk to you about military policy, but at the moment, so much is focused on tariffs and the economic policy. China, has come on strong with this business about rare earth minerals and their control of it. President Trump has wisely acted to make a deal with Australia to try to counter that to some degree. Still, China holds the cards here. Essentially, they're like, what the Mideast was to oil in the 1970s, I think of China, and these rare earth minerals that are so key to chips, to batteries, to electric cars.
Hugh, you're shaking your head over here.
Well, the most important issue is not that. It is fentanyl. And President Trump said that is number one. If he sits down with General Secretary Xi, he's going to talk about fentanyl. Reuters won a Pulitzer this year for pointing out over parts of a 7-part series, 450,000 Americans have died from fentanyl. China is the source of all the precursor chemicals. They do get mixed up in various places, primarily Mexico, come across the border. 450,000 Americans have died from fentanyl. That's issue number one. And China has promised to stop it like a half dozen times. President Trump isn't going to fall for that again. He gave him a shot. I think that's going to be issue number one, way more important than trade.
Well, and to the point about the drugs, the White House has announced yet another strike that involves off the coast of Venezuela and into the Caribbean. We have a little bit of video of that, this latest one. But Byron, it's sparking new conversation on Capitol Hill again about whether this is warlike activity, whether lawmakers need to have some voice in what's happening here. And you've got Republicans and Democrats saying that they're not getting briefed fully.
Well, it is warlike activity. We're blowing up these boats, and the president is the commander-in-chief of the military forces. And I'm not sure how this even gets to a court. But the administration seems extremely confident that they are on solid ground in doing this, and they did it once, twice. What was this, the 10th?
I think.
So, yeah, so this is something they feel confident in doing over and over again.
All right, can we get you each quickly to run through your winners and losers? Byron, I'll start with you.
The winner is the stock market. I mean, are we in a bubble? I don't know. But the Dow closed above 47,000 for the first time in its history. And the S&P and NASDAQ are at records, too. And the loser is Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, arraigned today. And when she was arraigned, she decried the, quote, weaponization of law enforcement, which, if you're a Republican, given her record, sounds kind of funny.
One, winners and losers.
Well, I have one that Hugh and others have said is a great one, so I'm going to hope you enjoy it, Shannon. Maine's Governor Janet Mills' opposition research team. Byron wanted to do this one, by the way. Instantly revealed that Graham Plattner once had a Nazi tattoo on his chest. It put a big dent in his campaign against Mills for the Democratic nomination to run for Senate against Republican Susan Collins. My loser, James Hoban, George Washington's choice as White House architect in 1792, and after the British burned it in 1800s. Trump wants the White House to be Mar-a-Lago on the Potomac.
All right, quickly, Hugh.
My winner is the director of protocol, current and future. Currently, it's Ambassador Monica Crowley, and she will be in charge of the ballroom. They finally have a place to do state dinners when it's done. It's a great thing. My loser, college sports, because the bigs can control gambling. Colleges can't. The minor colleges are especially vulnerable to the mob and gambling scandals.
Listen, I'm more upset about the portal, but that's a whole nother conversation. Panel, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.